in Maya, just so it's kind of easier to look at. This could be directly out of ZBrush and then going into Substance Painter, but let's take a look at this. So I have, here's the low poly character, and then I also have the high poly character that I'm going to bake in Substance. And the multiple parts are his body and his eyes. Okay, so let's look at this. I can see that I have it called character low, and then I can see that I have the corresponding item called character underscore high. Then I have the eyes low, and then I have the eyes high. And you'll notice that on the eyes high, so we can see that something happened, I kind of have this indentation here. And on the eyes low, I don't have that. Okay. I also have this on mesh display. I have this softened edge on the character, and then I also did mesh display soften edge here too. I should also point out that I have this body. If I look at the UV, I have the UVs on the low like this, and then I have the UVs on the eyes. I want to point out though, on the character high poly, I do not have any UVs. Okay, so if you don't have the same UVs on your high poly, that's fine. And on the eyes, I purposely did a different UV. You can see here that on the low eyes, this is what my UV looked like. And on the high eyes, I just kind of did something kind of junk UVs. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this into Substance Painter. We're going to look at how we're going to do this. So I'm going to select the low character low and eyes low. Okay, and I'm going to export that. So I'm going to go File, Export Selection, and I'm going to go to, maybe I'll just put it on the desktop, and I'm going to call this FBX underscore low. And I'm saving it as an FBX. Great. Now I'm going to select these, and I can see over here, and it doesn't matter if it's on layers here, but it does matter that it's tagged with underscore high and underscore low. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. And now I'm going to go File, Export Selection, and now I'm going to call this FBX underscore high. Once again, it doesn't matter how I name it here. I'm just doing this so I can kind of stay organized and kind of remember what that is. This might take a little bit more time because it's obviously a larger file. Okay, wasn't too bad. And now I'll go into Substance Painter. So in Substance Painter, I'm going to go File, New, PBR Metallic Roughness Alpha Blend, File, Select. I'm going to bring the, here's the desktop. This is FBX Low. This is the one I want. Open this up. Document resolution 4096. And I'll leave everything unchecked. Unless you're using UDIMs, then you'd have to check that. But I'll go ahead and click OK. Now, here's this guy here. And if we look at how it's set up, I can see that that's his body. And if I go into my texture set list, there's his eyes. I should mention that if his eyes and his body come on the same UV here, the way you differentiate that is in Maya, this is important, that you have like Lambert 1, and I should go to this, like Lambert 1 on the body and Lambert 2 on his eyes. In other words, two different materials that's going to differentiate their texture sets. If you have this all the same Lambert, like let's say it's all Lambert 3, his body and his eyes, then they're going to be sharing a texture set, and that's not going to work. So you need to have different materials. Doesn't matter what materials they are, just as long as the eyes and the body are different because they're sharing the same UV space. So if I come back here, I can see that there's my two different things, but I want to bake the high poly on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my texture set settings, and in my texture set settings, I'm going to go to Bake Mesh Maps, and sometimes I like to set this to a low number, okay, like 512 or 1024, just to test it. And then here's where I'm going to bring this in. High definition meshes. I'll bring it in right here. And I'm going to bring in my FBX high. Now remember, I have multiple parts. So I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to say match by mesh name. And then I'm going to tag it with underscore low or underscore high. And that, the underscore low and underscore high, that corresponds to this. So we don't have a choice. We want to make sure that we do an underscore low and an underscore high. That's how it knows what items match up to one another. So now if I come back here, I'm saying match by mesh name. So eyes low to eyes high, and body or character low to character high. Now I should be good. I'm going to say bake selected textures, and now it's going to do its thing. Because I did a 1024 map, maybe the quality won't be as good, but at least it'll be faster. And if there's a mistake, I can correct that mistake. And then if I get something that I like, I know it's all working, then maybe I'll do a 4K map or an 8K map, depending on what my final output can handle. And I can see that it's doing it on the different maps. And remember that the UVs are not the same. So the UVs on the high poly do not matter. Okay, and I can see here that it looks like my eyes came in just fine, and my high poly came in just fine. Now if I wanted to double check this, here's kind of a cool trick. I can go to this polygon fill, and now I can see the polygon lines, and I can see that sure enough this is actually working, and the body detail is on there. And if I wanted this to even be better resolution, let's not forget I can go to Bake Mesh Maps, and then I can set this to, like, let's say 4K, keep everything the same here, and then bake again, and it would even be higher quality. So hopefully that was helpful to bake your normal maps when you have multiple subtools.